Hello and welcome. My name is Daniel Cuesta, someone who's making the most of being curious. Today I've sat down with Dr. John D. Stewart, head of Stewart Home and School in Frankfort, Kentucky, a wonderful neurodivergent community doing incredible things. Today we're going to be talking about a variety of subjects such as the school's ongoing projects, its history, as well as looking into the mind of a CEO. I hope you enjoy and thank you for joining us. Dr. Stewart, thank you so much for accepting this meeting today. I'm very excited for what we're going to discuss and talk about. To start off, could you tell me a little bit more about the painting?
Sure, Daniel. Happy to be here and happy to have you here visiting us in our office. This painting is meaningful. It was a gift to our family from Sandy Bell and her husband and son. Sandy Bell's director of our special needs school, the Stewart Home and School, where we are today. And it's actually a painting from local artists for the farm where we are here in central Kentucky. And it's a field in the back of this farm, painted in the fall. And it's a depiction. It's a realistic depiction, actually, of the central part of this is a sycamore tree, and it's a location where in the fall time, actually, a recreational event was some bird hunting. And at that tree is where my father, my name is John Stewart, John D. Stewart, my father, John P. Stewart, Dr. Stewart, that was his favorite place to hang out. And he hosted a group of men of his generation and the next generation as his guests to come and for an afternoon of bird hunting a few times in September. And it was a popular gathering. And that's where we always hung out. And really, to me, it kind of symbolizes his presence and spirit. At the end of the afternoon, folks would gather there and socialize and have an adult beverage or two, and kind of
Can't go wrong with those.
Yeah, enjoy the end of a pretty afternoon. And so, in fact, we have a subsidiary business that is a real estate and property company that's called Sycamore Properties that owns some farmland and some adjoining properties to this campus and to this farm and some surrounding areas that I named with that in mind. And it's the principles of that are my three siblings. So it's meaningful. And it was initially at my mother's house where he lived for a number of years. That house was built in 1902. That's on this campus. And but I wanted it here in this office when I built this building 6 years ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I sit at my desk across from this room, and every time I look up, that's what I see.
Just how big is the campus? I've been wondering.
The campus is 100 acres and sits on an 850-acre farm here in Bluegrass in central Kentucky.
And all that's Stewart Home and School?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. It's grown. When I was young, it was 500 acres, so we've acquired adjacent property. Just over time when contiguous properties have been for sale, and we've acquired that. I'd like to own more, but we've invested in other projects such as
investment. That's what I love to hear.
The betterment of our campus and its buildings and things within the grounds.
Yeah, campus is beautiful.
Yeah,
I've been here a few weeks now and can't complain. I love it here.
Yeah, we have 270,000 square feet on the roof, and the oldest building is 1839, so it requires constant attention to keep all that upgraded and in good shape. There's always something that needs to be fixed and repaired, and
history.
So that's where a lot of resources go. Yeah.
So could you tell me a little bit about the founding about this wonderful institution?
Stewart Home and School is a family-founded, family-operated, private residential facility for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's unique. There are other institutions like us in the United States, but they're not a lot. It was founded in 1893 by my great-great-grandfather, Dr. John Quincy Adams Stewart. No relation to the president. I think he had that name because there were more patriotic families at that time. If you look at family trees, a lot of people were named after presidents. And his history is very interesting. He was a native Kentuckian from a small community just south of Louisville, Kentucky. At age 18, he got his law degree from the University of Louisville. He and his brother went to the gold rush in the late 1840s. That was a 4-month journey from St. Louis to the Sacramento area across the Wild Wild West. It's a story that fascinates me. He was there for 8 years, did not strike gold, but he was an elected official for 6 of those 8 years. He was a magistrate and a judge. So he got administrative experience, which I'll come back to. When he came back, he then went back to the University of Louisville and got a medical degree, 1859. And he went to Western Kentucky, Owensboro on the Ohio River, practiced medicine, built a busy practice. And a key a moment in his career came in 1876 when Governor James McCreary appointed him to come to the capital city here in Frankfort and become the director of the State Institute for the Intellectually Disabled. And the question that comes up a lot is, did he have a family member with an intellectual disability? We're asked this very frequently. We have not found any evidence of that, but I think he was appointed because he had administrative experience and he was a doctor with a lot of medical experience. Administrative experience had come, as I said, because he'd been a magistrate and a judge, and his medical experience from his practice. So he could run a large state institution, had a hospital and outbuildings, campus. It came with a house, a stipend, and a staff. So it was considered a good political appointment. And most people held it for one term. Governors could not succeed themselves until the 1990s, when the constitutional amendment allowed governors to succeed themselves. So each governor would usually appoint somebody new to have that position, but he did a good job, and so he did it under 4 governors. And the reason he did that is he was very forward-thinking. He was one of the original leaders in his field. He developed an education program for those with intellectual disabilities. He developed training, and he started a vocational program for those with disability, yet with ability to have work capabilities in the community. He wrote about it. He published. We have hardbound volumes in our historic library here on our campus. And he lectured. We know he lectured in national meetings. He hosted a national meeting in 1881 in Frankfurt for the American Association for Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. That's an association that exists to this day. In fact, in June of this year, they had their annual meeting in Louisville, Kentucky, and I got to welcome that group here 143 years after he hosted that group in Kentucky. And he served as their president in 1884, 3 years after he hosted them. That's 140 years ago. We know he lectured in Kansas City, in Syracuse, in Montreal, and he was president of the Kentucky Medical Association in 1894, and his topic was vocational training for those with intellectual disabilities. So he was a leader in this field as a public official. Instead of retiring in the 1890s, he decided to start a private school. And this campus, the main building, which is on the historic register, which is a Greek Revival building built by one of Kentucky's famous architects, Gideon Schrock, who designed the old state capitol, and other state capitals and other well-known federal and state buildings. That building had become Kentucky Military Institute, a military boarding school. And they had moved to Louisville in the late 1880s as Louisville had grown as a river city, and they vacated the property here, which was the main building and 2 dormitories, barracks for the cadets. Dr. John Quincy Adams Stewart and his son had been to the boarding school, been to the military prep school here, Kentucky Military Institute, KMI, and his son had just graduated from college and from medical school, so he was a young doctor. So father and son, both Dr. John Stewart, the son was Dr. John Pogue Stewart. They acquired this campus in 1893 for $9,500, our research has recently shown, and started 131 years ago. The Stewart Home and Training School was its first name, later to become the Stewart Home and School. We think they had approximately 20 families bring their sons and daughters here. 5 years later, the original Dr. Stewart died, 1898, and his son took over. His son was Generation 2, and he ran it for 43 years, 1898 to 1941. He carried it through the Spanish influenza, the worldwide pandemic of 1918 and 1919. It probably killed as many people as World War I did. That interests all of us because of the recent pandemic. And very impressively, he carried it through the Great Depression, to run a private school, a private business through the Great Depression. He died in 1941. His son, my grandfather, whom I'm named after, John Dowling Stewart, was a business administrator. He ran it from 1941 to 1963. His son, my father, Dr. John Pogue Stewart II, were named after grandfathers by this time, was the chairman from 1963 to 2014 for 51 years. He was Frankfurt's first radiologist. He picked that field so he could work in the hospital in the morning and then run the school in the afternoon at a kind of controlled hours as a physician. He was a very dynamic guy. He built the school, both its campus and the programming. In his years, he's the one that really developed, along with 3 or 4 key people on his staff, developed the special education programming and built the built the census up on the sides of the school. Built a number of buildings. He had a director here, Sandy Bell, who's is still here. Superintendent David Selwood. His son-in-law was his CEO, businessman, very banker. I helped later on develop the medical programming here. So that's really the generations. He passed in 2014. I was practicing surgery in Lexington for 3 decades. I grew up on this campus, came here once a week for a clinic, and then I took over 10 years ago as the 5th generation chairman and was phased out of my surgery practice where I was a managing partner and then became full-time here 8 years ago, and I'm here every day as a director, here as a chairman, CEO, and chief medical officer, and running this wonderful program with a fabulous team of people.
What a history.
Yeah. So very fascinating history.
Incredible history. My question now, as a 5th generation Stewart, is, was it always a plan to go back to the roots?
Deep down, the answer to that is yes. I had, I grew up on this campus. I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where my father was doing his medical training, his internship and residency at the University of Michigan. First two of 4 were born there. Came back to Kentucky as he started his practice, returned to his home, family home, and then built the house that I grew up in on this campus. My grandparents were living in the family home where my mother and my brother, younger brother, my partner, live. So I had a brother and 2 sisters. So from about age 4.5, I was on this campus. So this was my home. I tell people I was a graduate of this program when I interview families and walk around with them. And so it's really the programming is genetic. Being out in the country, I kind of I played with participated in the programming here and activities and then my first jobs at age 14 and 15 cutting grass here. Age 16, we had a very busy agricultural program working in the dairy, and we had a very busy farm program. We phased it out into a commercial agricultural and grocery program, but at any rate, was just involved in the fabric and works and activity of this of operations here. So it was ingrained. And with that knew the students and residents of life with those with disabilities. There was a way to college and to medical school and my, surgical training. I picked surgery, came back to Lexington, had opportunities. I was in Houston, I was in New Orleans. I had job offers to be in those places. I met my wife in Houston. She practiced OBGYN. She'd always been a big city person, but she has come to love Kentucky but always, and I came back to be within a half hour of this campus to practice and be close enough to have to be very involved with our student health and help develop that program here, which is a busy part of what we do. And through that, always stay connected to the business operations here. My father's a good businessman, always included me in the reporting. He worked closely with his son-in-law, my brother-in-law, and so I stayed involved on that side of things. As he got older, I actually was managing partner of one of Lexington's busiest surgery groups, but I'd always would spend time, maybe 5 or 6 days in the winter. In his last 10 years, as he got into his 80s, he would spend time in Florida. I would go down to visit him, just myself. He was there with my mother, and we would recreate and socialize. But excuse me, we would have time, and I started telling him that my plan was to come and be here, particularly after he was gone. That I would be there for the school and for him. And I think he felt at peace that that would happen. And when he did pass, immediately stepped up to be here part-time, kind of 3 half days a week. But it took 2 years for me to make a transition to be here full-time. But I enthusiastically look forward to that. I'm passionate about being here. My colleagues from a busy practice at first asked, well, how's retirement? I said, well, I'm not retired. I said, it's like, I was busy working in the hospital because we had a very busy practice. Now it's like working in the hospital, but you also own the hospital because this is a family-owned, deal. So if the roof leaks or the pipes don't work or your staff is disgruntled or there's regulation issues, all that goes along with if there's healthcare issues or programming, challenges, whatever's going on belongs to us. And invention in 2008 of the smartphone means this pursues you wherever on the planet you are that has connectivity. I think in the 10 years that I've done this, I've had 6 days when I went to Cuba with my wife and her Rice University alumni group, where there are no cell phones or credit cards. It's kind of an ideal world. I ought to go back. Uh, where you had no connectivity. That's the only time I've been disconnected in all these years. But so it's total immersion, and I like it like that. So as long as I'm blessed with good health, I have the energy and the commitment of doing what I do and being totally involved. Question I get is about next generation. I've got a daughter that's a horse veterinarian. She is a subspecialist doing sport horse medicine, taking care of lameness issues in Ocala, Florida. She's like her parents, board certified workaholic and highly accomplished. And a son that's an engineer, but it's also a business administration specialist who's worked here in college summer days and is, I think, very interested one of these days in, like his father, me, at some point in time in returning to be involved. He's married to a teacher and that understands the education aspect that we provide. So we'll see what the future brings in that regard.
No doubting the importance of family, but wherever it goes, flourishing, I bet, will go along with it.
Yeah. And I got a brother. My younger brother's 15 years younger, is my business partner, is an outstanding businessman, understands all operational things, and lives on this campus. So good setup there.
Good stuff. Good stuff. There's been incredible growth for the company recently across social media platforms and in the campus itself. With that in mind, what's the future of Stewart Home and School look like? Where are you guys going?
For families that have special needs, we want them to know about us. Yes, we have been here since 1893. Yes, we have been here for 131 years. And yet, in many respects, we have been a quiet story. It's been our nature to be focused on our program inwardly, to serve the families that come to us. But when families are looking for the robust programming that we offer, for the socialization that we offer, for the students who are here, and everyone's a student regardless of age, for the neurodiversity that we have, and for all the activities that we have, and for the year-round experiences that we have, for the geographic diversity that we bring in, we want people to know about us. So where I see us going is continuing to promote that to everybody everywhere. Because we have year-round enrollment, that varies. Our census is in the range of 300, and we have students here from approximately 38 states and several foreign countries, and it's an incredible group of families that come. We are big enough to offer variety, and we're small enough that we know everybody. And so when we walk around, we get to say hi to all the people that we know. We're open to families to visit anytime they want, to go on vacation anytime that they want. And so it's a unique experience. And so we want those who are looking to be able to find out about us. You got to come here and visit.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that you couldn't do that was in the pandemic year, when you had to do your tour virtually. But you can initiate with a telephone inquiry, then a family can come and see us. But we want people, and we want a prospective student to come and be here and walk around and meet people. You'll make a lot of friends when you meet people here. You walk around, you're going to have 24 new friends, because we didn't do a very good job at socially distancing, because when you're supposed to do that, everybody wanted to come and shake your hand and give you a hug. And now that's not everybody. Some folks are quieter and more separate. It depends on the personality, and sometimes that goes with the diagnosis. But it's a truly wonderful place. I grew up here, so I can tell you what it's like to be here. And I'm here working every day, so it's really special. And where I see us going forward is to as we're constantly developing we've been is a program that we have. We were special education before that term existed, as part of the fabric of the American education system. I went to high school here locally. There was no special ed in the public school system in the United States when I went to school, and and at that time we had it here, and we've continued to develop it and push the envelope on it. And witness you being here as a summer intern, as a college student, and you bring new ideas to us. We welcome new ideas, and so we honor what's worked in the past, but we're always looking for new ideas going forward.
Speaking of families, could you tell me a little bit more about Family Weekend here?
Family Weekend's a great time. It's celebratory and it's functional. It takes place in May. It's the weekend after Mother's Day, so it's usually the third weekend in May. Every seventh year that it comes a weekend earlier. It's been going on for over 40 years. Um, it officially goes on from Thursday at noon till Saturday at noon. We'll have some families start coming sooner. Its peak time is that Friday. We have about 400 guests come over those days. Some are here the whole time, some are in and out. The last year in 2023 was special because we hadn't done it since 2019 due to the pandemic. So that was a big gap. That's as big a gap as World War II. And so it was really special. Thursdays is kind of a casual day. It's kind of classrooms are kind of open, so you can go in and out to see the teachers. We have kind of in our quadrangle in the academic area, we have kind of some tents set up. So there's kind of a book fair, art fair, coffee area. We've been blessed the last couple of years with gorgeous spring weather. So always people kind of wandering around and socializing just down the hill. We have a wonderful equestrian center here. So you have to book time there, but the students are riding. And so they rotate riding kind of lessons demonstration with our riding instructors. That evening, we have different folks like to come and we have music. We have different outside entertainers that come. This year was really fun because for the first time, our maintenance and grounds crew have a band, a bar band, and it's the first time they have played here. So they kind of are a country rock band, and they're really good. Two brothers that play guitar, and one's wife is a vocalist and guitarist, and they were really good. The on Fridays packed. Despite a stormy, rainy spring day, we had a great time. It starts in our gym with an assembly on stage with welcome speeches. We try to keep everybody no more than a minute or two before the microphone. We recognize a lot of people from the community, the mayor, elected officials. We kind of give awards to some people in the community that work with us, et cetera, et cetera. The best part of that is we ask one or two parents, usually a parent or a parent couple, to share their experience of how they came to the school in relation to their son or daughter. That's usually a very, really emotional time. And it was this year. Mother talking about their daughter and how they came, and the stepfather talking about first he wasn't sure about it and how he was won over. And they're great supporters for us. Then we have a parade. This year we did it inside, and it was just as fun as it is outside because it was a rainy day. In the afternoon we have a musical program. Each homeroom class kind of has a musical. It's like a musical video. We act it out. So it's kind of rapid fire to get as many people on stage as possible. We try to get about probably 80% participation on stage. There's some group dinners at different sites in the kind of evening time, and that night we have a band with a dance. We have guys on stilts that do the balloon, make the balloon art. We usually have fireworks. We had to postpone it this year. It's going to be Labor Day because of the weather. We usually have a little small bubble truck, but this year we have this machine that made bubbles that were waist deep that was about 50 yards across. Never seen anything like it. It was a huge hit because you could wander in and out of the bubble bath. I'm sure that'll come back next year. Saturday is on campus. We have a walk run at 8 o'clock in the morning that a few people participate in. There's a fishing contest in our front pond when you drive in our beautiful grounds. That's kind of they have a little breakfast down there, like a little breakfast picnic, and they have fishing. There were two fish that were caught. One was 18 inches, one was 19 inches. They were large catfish that were there. So they have some bass and some brim that are there. And then it overlaps 5 minutes away is a bowling alley, and it's packed every lane. I was part of about 6 people simultaneously rolling the bowling ball out. I'll blame it on the crosswind because my ball went left and only got one pin. So I didn't get to warm up. But at any rate, so they bowl and kind of everybody gets a ribbon on each lane, and then we conclude. And as fast as all starts, boom, it concludes. So that's Family Weekend, and it's a great time. Our theme this year was "Be True to Your School." We have T-shirts and colors, and and lots of stuff. And we catch our breath and take a couple months off, and we start planning for next year. And
Sure know how to have fun.
yeah, it's a great time. Every other year we have a yearbook. This year the yearbook came out. It's dedicated to our longtime school superintendent. He's celebrating his 50th anniversary here in September. Coach David Selwood, and he's awesome. He's our program director and superintendent. Started out as a phys ed coach, and he's been phenomenal, legendary.
Love that guy.
Yeah,
He's the best.
Yeah. So that's a especially the person video in this is the one that publishes the yearbook. Miles Young does a great job. So
Also a great guy.
yep. So great time.
Dr. Stewart, you mentioned earlier a few initiatives, things that are in the work, where the school's going. One of them being the Brick Club, partnered with Play Included. Could you tell me a little bit more about that, your thoughts, what you've been reminiscing about?
That's a really fun endeavor and new to us, which you brought to us, and very exciting. I got to participate. We have in the evening time 7 days a week activity time, and it can vary from a campus-wide activity, like a sporting event or a social event, like a dance or something. But most evenings there are smaller, more individual type activities, and this is a perfect example of an activity that kind of combines crafts, socialization, and it's educational. It's constructive because it is construction. You're building something, so it's a Lego club, and it was fun to be there. The group was having a really good time. They were, broke down into smaller groups with an instructor and their project. So what they were building, and they were at different phases. They've been working on, what their builds, like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. How far along were they with their the item that they were putting together? And it's pretty complicated, pretty challenging. I mean, all the parts there, and they were headed towards
Not easy.
Pretty complex item. Building an SUV, or building a building, or just some other item, and then the details that would go on with the decals or the trim work type of thing. So I think it's a great activity, and it handles the different levels of capability, which is really important to us here at a special needs school. We have 19 levels of classes. So from those that are lower functioning at at a pre-academic level, all the way up to those that are at a high school level. And we may group according to abilities or that type of a thing. But it gives us flexibility in how we can set it up, from the simple to the complex. So I thought so it's really ideal for
Totally agree.
engaging our group.
It's a great program. If anyone is interested in learning more about that work, definitely check out Play Included or watch the video that we're about to play to see Stewart's Home and School Brick Club. Hey, my name is Daniel Cuesta, and welcome to the Stewart Home and School Brick Club. Here we work together to get a Lego project done, under which the students alternate between the three roles of builder, supply, and engineer. They love to do it, and in the meantime, also improve their communication skills and fine motor skills.
We're a special needs school, and we have programming and activities 7 days a week, and every evening we have specialized activities, and you can see they're having a great time with the Lego Club, and it's new, and they're very engaged, and they're really having a lot of fun with us, and I am too. So Daniel, good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Shout out to the team over at Play Included. Dr. Gina, you're the best. Dr. Stewart, you're an incredible man, very talented, have a lot in the repertoire. You're a businessman, a medical man, a CEO. My question to you, and I'm curious about this, is what's been your why? What's been your recent fuel?
So what, let me put that in terms of what I do now, and influence really of my past maybe and how that projects onto what I do now. So I'm the chairman of the Stewart Home and School. So that's a generational position, and but really I'm an operations guy. I'm a hands-on guy. Um, so CEO, that's what that is. And uh, my my approach is one of is as a hands-on type person. I think part of that has to do with the size of our operation. We employ 175 people, um, and I'm here each day. I'm involved with a lot of our operations. Obviously, some departments are less involvement for me. I'm a physician, so I gravitate a lot towards our student health and that side of things. Other departments are run more independently by on the education side, our maintenance and grounds, our business operations, et cetera. But I touch upon all of those. I think part of the hands-on thing, literally, it's kind of no pun intended, but I was a career surgeon. I did that for 32 years. Obviously, that's a hands-on job, um, and I think that's part of it. You literally, you see patients, you operate on them, you take care of them, and so you're very focused on the individual side of things, and you're very responsible for the individual side of things. So I think that it carries over to this. I think the good part of that is the commitment to the detail. The challenge is at times you should you should step back and see the big picture. And sometimes I have to challenge myself to be able to do that, and make myself be less hands-on and more big picture type. But I'm a believer in servant type of leadership, and I think that's leadership from the front, leadership by example, and it's collaborative, it's management, and it's participatory, and so you got to be present to be able to do that. Uh, and by example means you got to do the right thing. You got to speak out for the right thing. You got to speak out against the wrong thing, and so I think that's important. Those are some of the principles that I work by. My mentor was my father. That's how he operated. I have a couple people in the medical world that I truly admired. They were senior partners of mine, and that's how they operated, not only technically, but how they conducted the care of their patients. And so that's some of the principles. The From a business standpoint, one of my favorite books is Built to Last, a book written by Jim Collins. It's kind of a standard business, a Bible of business school. It's basically about companies that have existed for a long period of time, so they have to be adaptive. If they were here, 100 or 150 years ago, they're most likely doing things differently now than what they did originally, or they wouldn't be here. There's a few businesses where you maybe don't do things differently, but a lot of them that you do. If you were making typewriters in the past, you better be doing things differently if you're going to be existing now. And so we have we're in a historic location. We honor our mission, which is the care for those with special needs. But I've spoken about having programming that needs to be contemporary, and it needs to meet the demands of society for what families want for their family members, that to meet the needs that they have. And we need to be both leaders in offering programming for them, but also to be here to serve what they require. And so that requires imagination, and that requires commitment, and so you have to do it in a quality fashion. And so these are all standards that we have to live up to, and that's not easy to do. You have to really do that day to day. We're all human beings, and so we have to do our best to do that with as little fault as possible, and to do that to the best of our ability. So these are some of the qualities that I try to hold to personally, and to try to expect of our team.
Well, let me tell you, it shows. You can tell the difference.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Stewart, I've always been fascinated by the idea of what Mama said. For me, it's something I've brought with me my entire life. It's this idea of being a tortoise in a world of hares. With that in mind, I'm curious as to what other people's Mama said moments are, whether it was a mentor, your father, or even your mama. For you, what is it?
Well, my mentor was my father, and it was it was not verbal. I mean, it was he led by example. I've tried to lead by example. So I do feel like I followed that. I've heard people, comment that some people are motivated by greed, some people are motivated by fear of failure. I'm not really, uh, I've not really been dominated by those factors. During pandemic times, we had this place. At that time, I was had moved past my surgical practice. I was running the Stewart Home School, and we had a stretch from March until the late in 2020 when we had sent 90% of our residents here home. And when the pandemic turned into what it turned into, it was a threat to the existence of this place. And for probably 3 or 4 of those months, it looked there were times when it looked like this place could fail, and that was a very scary moment. But we faced that and dealt with that and negotiated that and worked through that. So that in retrospect was intense, but was handled. So it's not a thread that has gone throughout. So I would say really it's more if you look for a long lasting motivating factor, it's been one that's been do the right thing and lead by example. That's been my mentor's message to me.
I love that. Great takeaways.
Yeah.
Phenomenal way to end. Dr. Stewart, thank you again once for your time. I'm truly grateful and appreciative. You're doing incredible work here as an institution. If anyone wants to follow along with the work, I'll make sure to link down all the websites and socials below. And hopefully we can speak soon again.
Well, Daniel, you've done a great job. Very insightful questions, and I think you have really bright insight to people and to the human side of things.
Thank you. All glory to God.